This right here is Car Con Carne, named the best music podcast in Chicago, according to the Chicago Reader's Best of 2022 issue that just came out last month. I'm James Van Osdol, and before I introduce this episode's guest, Car Con Carne is based in the Chicago area, and it exists in large part thanks to local area sponsors. And I want to tell you about a couple of them real quick. First off, Car Con Carne is sponsored by Suburban Roofing and Siding, a family-owned company that provides interior and exterior home remodeling services, offering services throughout the Chicago area, suburbs, city, etc. Their staff has more than 40 years of collective experience. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, they do everything. Call them, get started today, 224-677-6149, or visit suburbanroofingandsiding.com. Car Con Carne is also sponsored by easyautomation.net, easy-automation.net. If you're ready for a truly smart home, smart bar, smart restaurant, intelligent office, etc., it's never a one-size-fits-all proposition. Talk to the pros at Easy Automation, and they'll determine your needs and customize the system for you. Get started, get a quote by going to easy-automation.net. My guest for this episode is nothing short of a legend, Gary Numan, a man whose music has influenced so many through the decades, and a man who continues to write inventive, cool, immersive, wildly creative new music. He continues to improve on himself. And in 2021, he released the album Intruder, which was one of the best albums of his career. Also one of the best albums, period, of 2021. It is so good. And as I'm recording this in the beginning of May, Gary Numan's on tour as part of a package tour that includes Ministry as the headliner and Frontline Assembly. And I caught up with Gary Numan backstage at the Milwaukee date of the tour. They played the Rave there, and the interview is what's about to follow. I should mention, if you are looking for the video version of this was an audio-only recording. It is a podcast, after all, but because I know a lot of people like to consume podcasts, and this podcast on YouTube and Facebook, watching Facebook video, I created an animated waveform, so there's a video version of this, so you can watch it, listen to it, wherever you consume podcasts. That all said, Gary Numan. So North America through mid-May, and then it looks like a quiet summer, or are there festivals yet to be announced?
When this finishes, we finish in Pasadena at the Cruel World Festival there. Then we go straight, the next day I think we'll even go back to Britain. There's another festival there. And then it quiets down for a little bit. But I got jury service in July, which I've never done before in America, because I'm terrified of that. And then hopefully when that's done, because I got 2 shows in Europe in August, and then not much until October. I'm doing an acoustic tour, which I've never done before, in the UK, just as a little short 8 dates, just to try it out and see if it works. You know.
So what does that mean for you? Do you just play a piano?
Well, I'm acoustic guitar. It means I'll be playing acoustic guitar, mostly singing, obviously, because I don't play guitar very often, so my fingers get lacerated by playing it for more than about 10 minutes. Steve on acoustic guitar, we're going to have acoustic bass and double bass, which would be interesting, and piano, and that's it. No electronics whatsoever. We did it. What happened was we did it in right at the beginning of the lockdown. I flew to England and did my quarantining thing that you had to do. Met up with the band, and we just recorded. I think we did the 12 or 13 songs that we recorded acoustically. Never practiced any of that. We just got turned up in this lovely house with a little lake, and it's all very, very pretty. And we just spent the day working out how these songs would go. Then we record them, spend a bit more time learning some more, record them. It was really, really laid back and sort of quite amateurish, really, but we ended up recording these songs, and it really was because I was supposed to be doing one of these drive-in tours. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sure.
People talk about these drive-in tours, and the lockdown first happened, and I was set to do this big one in Britain, and it got cancelled, and I thought, so you just wanted to do something, really. So that was it, and the idea was to release them. There would be a version, just the music, and there'd be another version, a longer video, where I'll be talking about the song and why it's about what it's about and where the ideas came from. And
well,
so
like a storyteller sort of thing. Yeah,
that sort of thing. And I thought, we'll put them on the store, and for me it'd be a nice way of bringing in some income, because there was none none at all. Yeah, from when lockdown started, so I was a bit worried about money, and I thought it'd be great for the fans. It would give them something completely different that they hadn't done before. So it was like a win-win, really. And then I put the first one out, and somebody immediately posted it online, and the whole thing just fell apart, and everybody downloaded it for free. So that was the end of that idea. But the good thing was, having done the recordings and worked out these songs, to my surprise, they sounded much better acoustically than I ever thought they would. And so that's where the seed was planted, if you like, to do what we're doing in October.
And as you're saying this, I'm trying to imagine what you're like. I could hear Down in the Park acoustic.
Yeah, I've written about 400 songs or so on records, so there's probably a handful.
Yes,
you would imagine.
Well, I'm trying to think of like your tour staples, like the songs we kind of expect when we see you on stage, like those songs. Like
yeah. I was quite proud, actually, in a way, and I always used to say, if you can bring a song back to just a vocal and a piano, or a vocal and a guitar, then it's probably a genuinely good song. I just never thought that any of mine would. I always thought it needs all that other noise and thing going on. So I was really quite happy that we took these, and it was pretty much chosen at random, and we worked on them, and some of them were very, very much electronic based songs, Sure. which I really didn't think would work out, but it did. And so, I thought it did. We'll do these shows, and maybe people will say, actually, no, mate, they don't work well at all. But so we'll see. So it is an experiment. It's just 8 shows, quite small places, and we're trying to find venues that are really unusual, like little chapels and places with a religious sort of feel to it, even though I'm quite anti-religious,
But there's a certain vibe in a
yeah,
feeling.
there is a vibe to them, yeah, and they're very beautiful. And some of the venues are really, really pretty, much better than the square boxes you usually get to play in.
For sure. Well, as I'm listening to you talk about this, I'm listening to an artist who continues to challenge himself, and I realize Intruder isn't new anymore. I mean, it is the newest studio album, but this to me is the sound of an artist continuing to try new things, stretch out, try new themes, approaches. I think it's a spectacular album.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, yeah. Well, the one before, Savage, had a climate change sort of over vibe to it, I suppose. Although the album itself was essentially set way off into the future, and it looked at what humanity would become should climate change happen, and this climate apocalypse and so on, and what kind of world would we be left in, and what terrible things will we need to do simply to survive from day to day, and all the various sort of ideas that I came up with related to that. So it's like a science fiction album, really. First one I've done since Replicas in 79, a long time ago. Intruder, I wanted to stay with the climate change theme because I thought there was a lot more still to say about that, but I didn't want to repeat Savage. And my daughter wrote a poem called Earth, and the poem was about our planet apologising to the other planets for what people were doing to this one, and that it was slowly being killed, and how sad it was about that, and how sort of disillusioned it was with its golden creature, which is us, and how we'd turned on it. And she was 11 or 12 when she wrote it, and it was just so cleverly thought out, I thought. And so I just shamelessly stole the idea. I thought, that's it. That keeps me connected to climate change. So the whole album, every song on the album, pretty much, is what I think the Earth would say if it could speak. If it was given the chance to actually articulate in words how it feels about what's happening to it, really because of us, how it feels about us now, which is why the first song's called Betrayed. And ever onwards, I Am Screaming. The Gift is about COVID, the idea that COVID was not random. COVID was actually created by the planet as the first step of many to begin to bring our numbers back to a more manageable level where we could do less damage, or to get rid of us completely, which is probably the best solution to the planet's survival, I think. But that's what it's about, if the Earth could speak.
Speaking of The Gift, so many of your songs, The Gift included, are these wonderful slow burns where you just kind of build momentum and you take people along. Lyrics aside, I think musically you take people on a journey.
I've often thought, I try to write albums, especially these days, over the last 10 years or so, which are kind of movie scores for a movie that was never made. You could. I try to. I see the things I'm writing about. It's not all just experiences. It's you. I try to write music that can musically describe what I'm seeing, and then find lyrics that accompany that and go with that and kind of give it context. And I think if I could paint, I would probably write less songs, because I would be able to do it that way. I could articulate the visions that I have and the things that I see in a different way. But I can't. I'm a terrible painter, so all I have left is music and words and trying to build atmospheres and moods within it.
Navigating through your career in the present day as a more seasoned career performer, it feels like you are happily in control, as opposed to when things, we're at a breakneck, out of control pace, circa Pleasure Principle.
Yeah. I was. I think when you're new to it, you don't know what your pace is. Everything is. Well, for me, I've never been particularly confident about what I do, either in the studio, musically, or on stage, and until relatively recently. Still not in the studio, actually. I still find that quite challenging. But on stage now, I'm pretty confident now. I really do feel like I know what I'm doing. People can like it or not like it. That doesn't even bother me much anymore. I like what I'm doing. I have a lot of fun doing it. I love my band. We're the best friends. I like the life. I like living on the bus. I like that feeling as you walk out and the crowd moves. That whole sensation. I love everything about it, and I've grown to love it more and more and more. And some of that is because of the confidence that comes from doing it a long time.
Sure.
And all the things that you worried about going wrong have all happened, and they're not as bad as you think they're going to be, and you can deal with it anyway. And the funny thing is that the less you worry about them, the less they happen. You just kind of get into this fantastic, this tour with Ministry and Frontline Assembly, best tour I've ever done.
Really?
Loving it. I absolutely love it. It's just that they're the best people. Crowds have been amazing. Honest to God, man, I don't know if I'm just getting old and satisfied. I don't know what it is, but it is really, really, and I think it's because of people. This is a fantastic thing to do if you have the right people around you doing it. And I love it. I every night I go out and I listen to Frontline Assembly. I watch them when I can, but I actually get ready when they're on.
Yeah.
But often the dressing rooms have screens in, so you can watch them as they're getting ready. And I love what they do. It is so powerful, and it's just brilliant, And I love them. We're chatting every day, all the time. And then I do my bit, and I love my own bit. It's great fun, and get to prance around a little bit and do my thing and throw my shapes, and it's just great fun. And then I come off and I get ready really, really quickly because I don't want to miss a minute of Ministry. So as soon as they're on, I'm already there. I'm side of the stage waiting for them to come on, and it's just brilliant. Then I spend the whole next hour and a half, whatever it is, just throwing myself senseless off the side of the stage, and I'm shouting and screaming, and I'm more into it than the audience, I think. And it's just great, and I love them. I love all the people that. Brilliant. Honestly, man, best tour I've ever done.
You're a music fan who gets to make music as a vocation.
Yeah, that's what it is. I've been saying to my children, 2 of my 3 children are getting into this now. Raven's already started doing a few gigs with me. Persia, the middle one, has toured with me before, doing one song each night, and she's got a feel for it. The youngest one, not so much, although she's also just started to show some interest in it. I've been trying to say to them, for a long time, if it's just about becoming famous or becoming successful, then you're not going to enjoy it. As a life, you won't enjoy it. It's got to be about it's not even the journey. That sounds a bit silly, really. The nuts and bolts, the day-to-day bread and butter of being in a band is just this. It's going out, doing your gigs, and you have to enjoy all of it. You know, if you only enjoy the moment when you get to number one, or when you get to an arena, or you know, if that's really what it's for you, then everything between then and you will miss out on so much. But it's. I love it. We go a year ago today. I was doing Wembley Arena, right? In a week or so, I'm going to be doing some 400 capacity place in Petaluma, I think. You know, it's different. It's really different. Sure. Yeah, and I don't care. I love them all just the same because I love being in a band, and I love getting on a bus, and I love arriving at a venue, big or small, and I like talking to the people there, and I like. So what's today got to offer? You know, what's today's challenge going to be? This would be fun. You know, whether it's a few hundred people or 10,000 people, this is going to be fun. You know, and you can, if you can find that place within this, if you can find that degree of contentment, doesn't mean that you've given up wanting to be better or to improve yourself, but it means you love all aspects of it. If you can find that, then this is the best life you can have.
And that's a message that goes beyond music. That's a message to anyone with a creative spark. That's a message that goes to painters, podcasters, anyone who creates. Just find what you love and find something you really can take from it every day you do it.
Yes. But I think when you're younger, it's harder.
Sure.
Because it's all about ambition. It's all about achievement. And if you haven't got there yet, that desire, I guess, to become number one, to be that person, to be on that headline at an arena, whatever, you know, you can see why it's an unfulfilled dream at that point. So I suppose it's easier once you've been there to then just go, right, done that, and now everything is just fun. So I do understand that I'm in a unique position in a way, and I've been number one, and I've done all those things, and so I can sort of just sit back a little bit and say, right, it's all just fun from now on in. So I am aware of that, but it's still true. It's still true. You know, if you just love being in a band, you wake up in the morning and what you got to do, you go out to a studio. Well, how many people in the world would want that?
Yes.
You know, is it going to be a number one album? No, probably not. You know, but look at what you're doing. You're doing what you want to do.
Yes.
You know, and on a lesser scale, you can get up when you feel like it.
Right.
There's a value to that a lot of musicians don't understand. You know, if I wake up and it's a really lovely sunny day, which it often is where I live now in California, I can work or not. I can sort of choose to. Now, I can only not for so long, obviously, but there is a freedom. You know, there is a freedom to this sort of life where you can pick and choose when and where you work, which is a fantastic value, and it's worth a great deal. And I appreciate that the freedom that this life has given me. And but you have to work when you work.
For sure.
You know, I'll work my nuts off when I'm touring. I really, really do. Yeah, all the days at Ministry have had days off, I've been gigging. You know,
right.
They're having a day off tomorrow. I'm not. I'm somewhere else tomorrow gigging. So I'll work, you know. But then when this is finished, I will get up when I feel like it.
Catch your breath. All right, Gary, in the fleeting moments we have together, can I just throw a couple song titles your way and get some first impressions from you?
Yeah, sure.
Let's start with Intruder, since we talked about the album. I can listen to you scream. Pretty music to my ears. Tell me about where that came from.
That's the Earth speaking about us. You know, the Earth is beginning to see us not as a welcome addition to nature, but as an intruder. The Earth is beginning to see us as one of its rare mistakes. It made us too inquisitive, too clever, gave us opposable thumbs, which you should never have done because that meant tools, and it's angry, and it wants us to hurt. It wants to fight back. So the Intruder says, it pretty much establishes what the whole album is about.
Yes.
You know, the Earth is angry. You know, I can listen to you scream music to my ears, you know, because that's what it's been doing. There's a song on the album called I Am Screaming. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the same screaming that it's talking about. That's the Earth has been screaming for some time, and we just don't care or we don't hear it.
Can you see me? Can you hear me? I am screaming.
What's that?
Can you see me? Can you hear me? I Am Screaming.
I Am Screaming, yes.
Speaking of the word hurt, I think one of my favorite songs I've ever seen you do live is Love, Hurt, Bleed.
Love Her Bleed.
I love that. That is such a big sounding song.
Sorry, my fault.
Tell me about that one.
Well, that's that's one of my more disposable ones, actually.
No.
I'm surprised. That's just all about groove. You know, just
Well, it is. It has that big feeling to it.
yeah. That's. Like I said, I've probably written 400 songs, and there's probably half a dozen of them with the lyrics, which are pretty dismissive. Because lyrics are really important to me,
Sure.
and I really, really take a lot of time on them. I say it's a lie. I don't take a lot of time. I put a lot of thought into them. They tend to come really, really quickly. Love, Hurt, Bleed. I didn't really care about that at all.
That's hilarious.
It's all just a groove, but it works. We do it live. We're doing it tonight, you know. And I think Al's going to sing on that one maybe before the tour's finished. Yeah, he wants to do one, and I think that's a good one for Al to do. And but yeah, I mean, I'm almost embarrassed of the lyric on that because I just didn't put any thought into it whatsoever.
Let's talk about metal. Of all the 400 songs you've written, I mean, that certainly feels like one of the most enduring. It feels like in a state of rarefied air compared to not just your songs, but everyone else's. That's just a monster song.
Right, thank you. Yeah, that's metal is about the album it come from, Pleasure Principle. There were a few leftover sci-fi ideas from the album before, because I wrote it. I was only a few months after I wrote it around before. I did 3 albums in 12 months back then. Pleasure Principle being the third one. So I had this whole science fiction thing going on with Replicas, which was the one before it. And some of those, as I say, some of those ideas were just still in my head, which is now why I make bigger gaps between albums, because you need to get all the previous album ideas out of your head.
That makes sense.
So when you start a new one, it's fresh and you've got a new thing to worry about or complain about or think about, whatever. So metal is it's a machine that is aware that it's not human but desperately wants to be. I think the first line is it my Mallory heart is sure to fail. Mallory was Duracell back in the day.
Got it.
And so it's a battery. So it knows its heart isn't real, it's a battery, and every line it just makes reference to not being human or wanting to be human. And I could learn to be a man just like you, I think it says. I should know because I'm doing that.
I was going to say
as well.
Well, here's how good a Gary Numan set list is on stage. Metal's usually up front on the set list.
Yeah, pretty. It's moved almost to the middle tonight, actually. But yeah, I normally have it like song 3 or 4. Yeah.
You mentioned Savage. How about My Name Is Ruin?
My Name Is Ruin. We're back to Savage again. A lot of the songs on Savage, although they have this climate change connection, started out as a book, which I still haven't finished, called Ruin. And the idea is that there is this man who has a young child, same age as my daughter Persia at the time, and a wife. This is way in the future. God has been largely or entirely forgotten, apart from one small group of people that find a scrap. They find a fragment of an old Bible, and it's just enough to make them think that they were special because they found it. And there's just enough to give them some sort of moral guideline. And they call themselves the righteous, and then they start to spread the word. And the whole shit starts again. And so these people, the righteous, they turn up in some other songs, but they start to travel, and they're spreading the word. And if you don't agree with the word and want to be a part of what they do, they kill you, and they take the young people, and they re-educate them. And they turn up at this man, who isn't called Ruin at that point, just they turn up at this man's house, who has a dark history of himself. He's having nothing to do with it. They kill the wife, think they kill him, take the daughter. The story is then his search for her, him tracking them and finding her. And he earns the nickname Ruin because he does so many terrible things himself to find her, that when he eventually does find her and kills everybody, he then realizes that he might not be the best man to be her father anymore because he's ruined. He's become this monster that would do anything, absolutely anything, to find her. So right at the end of it, when he gets there and he finds her, you're left with this: will he or won't he? Will he take her back, or will he do something else? What's going to happen? So there's another book, but I need to finish the first one first. So that's what My Name Is Ruin is about. It kind of explains why he becomes what he becomes.
Amazing. One more song, Our Friends Electric.
It's about a robot prostitute, actually. And I couldn't admit that when it came out because it would never have got on the BBC, so I had to keep it quiet. It's about back in the day, long before the internet and so on. If you wanted to buy, like a porn video or something, it would arrive at your house in a brown envelope. And brown envelopes was a way of just hiding anything that was.
Sure.
It could be anything. It could be a bill. It could be porn. It could be a book about the Bible. It could be anything. But you didn't know what it was because it came in a brown paper bag.
Yes.
Well, these robots they looked like us, and they were much the same thing. They all looked exactly the same. So it would knock on your door, and your neighbours wouldn't know what it was there for. It was a brown paper bag, but in the future. So all these robots are moving around, and they're all doing different things. They might be there to clean your house. They might be there to fix your television or whatever gadget you had at the time. It might be a prostitute. It might be a gay prostitute. You didn't know what it was, but it meant that everything was secret. So when it came into your house, then it did what it was there for, but nobody would ever know what it was there for, and that's what it's about.
That's amazing. All right, to wrap up, we are at a point in your career. You are at a point in your career. You've done your 1,000. You've surpassed your 1,000th show.
Yes,
as Gary Numan.
Yeah.
Do you think about things like legacy and endurance, and just the fact that you're still here decades later, playing to the Rave tonight? Do you think about the weight of your career?
I don't really. I'm really grateful that I'm still here doing it. I'm very aware of that. I think legacy is a really terrible thing. It's just that's something for people that I worry about that for the children. Because it creates a shadow in a way.
Sure.
So I don't think it's helpful. When I'm dead, I don't care. Who would possibly care? It only matters while I'm here. And it only matters in the sense that I can still do something that I love doing. And beyond that, the best thing, the absolute best thing when I die would be if I'd never existed. If no one, because it's ego that makes you want to be remembered in the future, isn't it? What's the point? What is the point of that? It's going to make things more difficult for my children, unless they establish themselves before I go. Well, they probably will, because I'm not that old yet. But if not, I used to think I'd have children much younger, you see, than I ended up having them. And I always thought, even when I was like in my early 20s, it's just going to be a terrible thing for the children when they come along. It's going to make it really difficult for them. And I'm sort of forgetting about that now. I'm getting away from it now because I am much older, and I think at the moment it might be something I can be helpful to them because I'm still alive, and I can maybe open doors for them that perhaps would be more difficult if I wasn't around. But honestly, when I'm gone, people knowing who you were, who cares? Really? And I don't mean to be dismissive about that. I know.
I get what you're saying.
It's just I'm dead.
Well, and this goes back to what
it means nothing to me when I'm dead.
This goes back to what you were saying earlier, just about living that moment day by day, celebrating what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, if the legacy means that I can do this for a few more years because people are still around and still want to hear it, amazing. I'll do it for as long as I can. Although the way my back's hurting in a minute, might be much longer. I did a silly shape last night, and I think I've moved something that shouldn't have moved. But there will come a point when I look silly doing what I do. I'm running around the stage and I'm looking all aggressive and I'm glaring out at the audience and punching my fist up in the air, and I'm getting away with it at the moment. But age doesn't stop, and there will come a point when I just look like a silly old man trying to look menacing. And that's the time to quit, isn't it? Unless I start doing shows, I'm sitting on a stool with maybe that's the thing.
That's it.
Maybe the acoustic. That's the seed of where I'm going next, perhaps. I hadn't even thought of that. That was a horrible thought.
Well, you don't look silly now. I'm excited to see you tonight. I'm always excited to see you play. Gary Numan, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, man. Thank you very much.